Hi everybody, it's Reed Robbins here. I'm coming to you from New York, and inspired by many a day in the life videos I've seen from content creators on YouTube, I wanted to share with you a particular day in my life, and that day is September 11, 2001. It's the 20th anniversary now, and so it seems like it's a good time to reflect. I live 2.2 miles away from Ground Zero, and it's easy to see from here. So I wanted to just talk to you about what my thoughts were and what went on during that day for me. I woke up at about 9:45, and I got out of my bed, which is a loft, came down the ladder, and looked out the window, and in Union Square there were hundreds of people standing there in this parking lot where they now have the Green Market, and they were looking at the downtown skyline. And I knew something was wrong right away, but then when I turned my eyes upward, I saw plumes of black smoke coming, and I knew that there was something very, very wrong. So I went and turned on the TV and found out very quickly that the Twin Towers had been hit by commercial passenger jets, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. It was an open question as to whether it was terrorism or just a plane accident, at least until the second one hit. And even then it didn't really sink in, because you just couldn't believe that someone would do that. So I headed out into the street to see if I could find my wife. My then wife is a nurse practitioner, and she had an appointment to be about 5 blocks from there to examine a CEO for a physical checkup, which sometimes happens. She hadn't gone there in the morning, and since I had just woken up, I didn't know exactly where she was, but I figured she was probably at the gym. So I headed out as quickly as I could. It's a very quiet day out here today, but at the time, I was going upstream, and everybody else was coming in the other direction. One out of every 100 people or so was covered in dust. More than that were crying uncontrollably. I was just seeing if I could find out anything about what was going on and find out where my wife is. Okay, so now we're on Union Square West. Of course, it was a very sunny, beautiful day. So much has changed. This Chase Branch used to be the coffee shop. So at this point, I took a right onto 14th Street. About 10:30, because that's when the second tower came down, 10:29, I think. So I continued on to it freaked me out. It was jarring beyond belief to see those towers gone. When I came to New York, I used to live in a little apartment on West 16th Street, right at 6th Avenue, and I would walk out on 6th Avenue, and I would look downtown to see the World Trade Center, uptown to see the Empire State Building. And I would just be so giddy that I was in this place where all these famous landmarks were, and the traffic's whirring by, and everything's exciting. Of course, the stunning part was when I got to this corner right here. And I looked up there. Now you can see in the distance the so-called Freedom Tower is there, but there was nothing there. The Twin Towers, let's say, was a little more to the left. So that was very prominent in this view. And of course, that's when it hit me pretty hard. But I continued to the gym. Look at this. Welcome to New York. I love it. I'm walking down to where the gym was now. Weirdly enough, there was still a couple of people working out, but also there was a person there that was at the desk, and she remembered my wife, and she said that she had left. Okay, this is it. How you doing?
How you doing, Andy?
Good. This is it right here. I hightailed it home, got back here, and sure enough, she was here. As the day went on, we kept learning more things. For one thing, the heroism that people were showing was amazing. The firefighters, first responders, and also we learned that some people that we knew were gone. My next door neighbor in the next building on Broadway was killed, and he was a photojournalist who had spent time in the Gaza Strip, had spent time in Bosnia, gotten out of there without any problems, had walked a couple miles down to the World Trade Center and died in the implosion. His photos still exist. They were able to find and develop the last photos that he took. Also, a very dear friend of mine who lives in my building worked across the street from the World Trade Center. So when he came out to evacuate, he saw some things that he can't really even talk about, where people were jumping out of windows. I had a piano student at the time, an adult piano student, who was working in the World Trade Center and actually heard an announcement that he should shelter in place. So he went, got in the elevator in the lobby, pushed the button to go where he was, and then about the 4th floor, he just decided not to do it. So he got off on the 4th floor and just walked out and left, pretty much saving his life. We were supposed to go to a wedding, a family wedding, on Friday. Of course, it would happen on a Tuesday. And I wasn't about to leave New York, so I just said no. I didn't know if I could get back in. I just wanted to stay in my city. And so I stayed and just witnessed what went on afterwards. 14th Street was the southernmost place that you could go unencumbered in New York for a while. You couldn't go any further downtown than that unless you produced ID, which showed that you had a reason for being there. So we had a grocery store that was at 12th and University, and so I sometimes was able to go down at least that far. And there were military vehicles that were parked all along 14th Street, and sharpshooters, people with machine guns, military personnel, which was kind of scary because I had seen this in Turkey, where actually just a year earlier, we went and visited the palace in Istanbul. My former wife is Turkish. And to see people just around holding machine guns, ready for anything, was jarring to me. And it's even more jarring when you see it on 14th Street. But the guys were nice. They checked our IDs. They let us through. We went, we did our grocery shopping. And by the time maybe the first day came along, Union Square, which was the southernmost part, became a place where people went for contemplation. They went there with their instruments. They sang songs. They played. They made makeshift art exhibits. They hugged and cried. So it was a place of intense healing. And I would go out there several times a day. For some reason, I liked going at night. I wish I'd gotten some video or photographs, but I didn't. I didn't feel it was respectful at the time. Now that everybody's got a phone and everyone's a YouTube content creator, I wish I had, because I would be showing those now. But the photos that you're seeing are basically ones that I could find on the internet. And what I couldn't find was something of the nighttime feel there. I would sometimes just sit on that platform where you saw I was standing when I was looking out the window. You just sit there in the lotus position and open the window and look down at the park. And it was on many nights ringed by candlelight. And it was just an amazing place for the time that was going on. So here we are at Union Square Park. Let's just go in here for a second. It's a beautiful park now. It was a little scruffy back in those days. Here's George Washington. He was here then too, and he had lots of artwork on him. Same time of year, the foliage would have been out like this. So right here, you can see the window I was looking at. Here's where everybody was standing, looking up there. And there were so many, file this under the category of good things about this event. There were so many acts of kindness. I remember encountering this one woman in the grocery store near the nut bins and saying, "Oh no, you go first. Oh no, you go first." Well, that's not really a New York thing. And things slowed down. There's just something about the feel of that interaction was so amazing. Also, they put out a call at one point for shoes, like work boots, because people were working at Ground Zero and they didn't have enough shoes and boots. And within a day, they had to get on the news and say, "Please don't come down here with any more shoes and boots. We have all the shoes and boots we can handle." Also, a group of Kenyan tribesmen, and this is one of those stories that just comes out of the back door and like really hits you in the gut. They donated 14 cows to an American diplomat, and the reason was to raise funds for the people of New York. Well, these are people of incredibly modest means, and of course there's Lord knows how many bars of gold buried under the World Trade Center, right? But still, they felt this need to do this. Many of them had never heard of a skyscraper before. In the end, they sold the cows and they made beads and necklaces, and they sent them to the citizens of New York to keep in remembrance. So I guess as I think back to that on this 20-year anniversary, it's a very emotional feeling, but I would love it if we could get back to that a little bit. Now, the terrorists, whether they're terrorists from this country or whether they're terrorists from abroad, they're lost causes. The only thing we can do is try to thwart what they're doing. And that's by appealing to people of goodwill and integrity. So to those people, I hope we can get back to a little bit of that feeling that I felt on that day and the subsequent days without needing to have an event like this to compel us back there. Anyway, Reed Robbins here, 20th anniversary of 9/11. I just wanted to share a few thoughts on it. I hope you're well, and I'll see you soon in another video.